Welcome everybody to the first official SPS DAOn Hall. Yeah, so we're gonna probably have a little bit of growing pains here to get started, just trying to figure out the format and what exactly I guess how exactly this will all work. But I do have a special community member that I know a lot of people know and love joining me today, which I think will definitely help keep things on topic, and maybe even help with building some of the interaction with from the community. But yeah, welcome to the first SPS Down Hall, Dave. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great, Clay. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. It's been an eventful couple of weeks here, but I think things are finally kind of like starting to fall into place. We're starting to kind of like define some of the ideas and like some of the goals that we want to have, and we want to address like different concerns coming up. I think that's to me like part of the biggest hurdle about going into this was we weren't very clear on exactly what the position would end up being, so much as the fact that we needed something. And yeah, you're definitely you definitely got those alerts going.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Let everybody know that if they hear a little dinging going on, I'm a financial advisor, so I monitor the market all day long. So I got all kinds of things that keep dinging
Yeah.
and pinging and all kinds of noises going. But typically they run in spurts. So I think I just got done for a while. Well,
Cool.
one thing I wanted to ask you is all those proposals that you got up. Do you feel like I know I have my thoughts on it, but how do you feel it's going? Do you think we're making progress?
Well, here's the thing. I don't necessarily expect every single one of these discussions to lead to a proposal. But what I do want to do is organize the community a little bit better so that we can actually start addressing some of these concerns instead of just, like having like the endless, complaints and like some things are like fear mongering. I would say a pretty good example of this is the current situation with like the Nifty packs, right? Like, so people have been complaining about those Nifty decks and those cards for how long, right? So, I kind of like took it on myself to go talk to Tyler, figure out what the current situation is, and now like we have some like actual information to go off of, and if the community still wants to push a proposal on something like that and they want to try to, I guess burn those decks. Well, it's like to me, like that's the thing, right? Like it's just stop having like the same arguments or the same like thought patterns on repeat. Like to me, that is like quite literally insanity.
I agree, and I think um if you can work out the where we can have a vote without an actual like we could have a how you have the pre proposals now. And if we could have a vote without having to pay for a whole proposal and all that, I think that will also get a lot of these issues out because, like you just said, if, let's say that that's 50-50, down the road, right? Well, everybody's like, all right, well, on the Nifty deal, it's 50-50. It ain't going to pass, but we know it's 50-50. So whether that can be done via, what we talked about yesterday in the game, I'm sure um, uh, I'm not sure if you found out anything or want to talk about that, or and you said you may have a different way of doing it. But at the end of the day, I think issues like that are definitely great to surface because, honestly, I think a lot of people are just like, I think they get frustrated because they think they're not going to have any say so. But in reality, I think everybody has say so. It's just they don't see the votes.
Well, I mean, I think part of the problem is we have like different perspectives on this whole thing. But like in my mind, like I think it's valuable to hear what everyone has to say. I think it's valuable to gather feedback and to like try to build a soft consensus based on what people actually want and what people are expecting. But like one thing that cannot be overlooked or underestimated is at the end of the day, this is very much a stake weighted voting platform, right? So it's like it's like at some point, it's nice to hear everybody's thoughts and concerns, but you're also going to end up with the verifiable fact at the end of the day that if you don't actually have the stake to back up your opinion, that's pretty much all it ends up being is an opinion. And that's one of the reasons why I'm currently like looking at ways to develop some sort of like stake weighted polling, right? Like even if it's in Discord, even if we like end up going with like one of the options from the Peak Monsters guys. So basically, there has to be some way to be able to like do a temp check or like gauge interest in a topic based on stake weight, other than
Sure.
just popular opinion. Because popular opinion isn't going to get this done.
Absolutely. And what it also does is it creates frustration because if the popular vote is like on the soulbound deal, you know, the people that were most excited about unlocking at 2x, and spent a lot of time and a lot of energy arguing for that, they may find, I mean, I don't know, I'm not trying to predict, but they may find that when it comes up for a vote, the people that, like Vugadis, who did stop by and voice, a different side of that argument, and and they feel like he's like, I want to see this PG, like he's pouring cold water on them, but in reality, he was that way the whole time. I knew that, a month ago before this was even an issue. I knew Vugadis had an issue, with the soulbound cards being unlocked too cheap. So if he hadn't have stopped in and talked, nobody would have even really known that, and then they would have felt like, like I said, like like he's being the Grinch, but in reality, he's voting his stake, which everybody has the right to do.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've also encountered. I feel like sometimes people think that like I'm trying to like cater to whales, or like I'm not trying to like listen to people. And the thing is, like, not all of these whales just have time to like hang around in Discord and chat. I mean, like, I had to actually go like looking for some of them whenever I made the proposal to hire me. Because I was like, look, anybody that's got millions of dollars tied up into this ecosystem, like they should probably at least have the opportunity to speak to me and like know that if they have an issue or something like that, they can bring it to my attention. So, like, while I already knew people, like, I knew Azir Khan, I've known, like, I've never been, like, close with Crypto Eater or anything, but, like, I've been, like, aware of him and, like, on speaking terms, I guess, since, like, the early days. It's funny, because he pulled up, well, whenever, like, one day we were talking about something, he pulled up, like, the DM history, and it was, like, me trying to buy some, like, I think, alpha summoners from him for, like, .2 Steam or some crap. But, yeah,
Yeah, I
so
got some of those too.
yeah, so it's like I think like on some level you have to be able to respect people that like even like I feel like I have a lot of my like own net worth tied up in Splinterlands, right? But clearly there's people that like dwarf me so astronomically. I mean, I feel like you have to. Well, if nothing else, you have to consider their opinion because stake's going to decide at the end of the day. But I mean, like to me, it feels like on some level, people that have the most invested in the ecosystem are going to care whether or not this thing, survives or dies. And, I think that just trying to like discount their opinions or like trying to think, oh, they're just out of touch whales that are only looking for money is, it's one, it's kind of disrespectful, but like two, it's also like the same thing that a lot of these people are accusing them of doing with like little players, right? Like it's just like it's the opposite side of the coin. So I try to do my best to hear everybody. But speaking of hearing everybody, it looks like Azurcon wanted to hop in and address something. So welcome to the first ever Down Hall, Azurcon. What's going on?
Hey there. No, nothing to nothing to really talk about. I just saw you guys and I jumped in. I think you are trying to figure out some of the settings of this Discord. So I was listening to Dave, listening to you. So looks like all valid points were discussed so far.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably gonna jump into each of the kind of like the ongoing topics that we have up for discussion right now, and I don't know how popular this thing's gonna be. I'm not sure if it's gonna like really even get a lot of traction right now because from what I can tell, like it doesn't look like I have the ability to make the Discord event go live, and I don't, I'm guessing like Ron or like nobody else that can is around. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like Lewis said, you didn't do an everyone ping, which probably hurt, attendance. And one thing I'd like to say, Clay, before you go into specific topics, especially with AZ here, if that's all right.
yeah, go ahead.
The I put out the post on Hive, which you know was a point that I would definitely want to continue to pound over and over and over into people's understanding, and that is you know that at the end of the day, we're going to have to start working on these contentious issues in a way, in a much more professional manner. I look at it as more of an evolution than anything else. In other words, at first, kind of like, hey, you're voting against me, you're a bad guy, and then the next vote, you're voting for me. Oh, I love you, and then the next one, oh, I hate you again, and at the end of the day, everybody was kind of, like, this is what I want, and I'm only going to vote for what I want. But in reality, that's just not how the world works. The world works where, you have a view, I have a view, Azircon has a view, Lewis has a view. People like each other, don't like each other. None of that even really matters. What really matters is if we as a DAO want to make change, we have to take contentious issues and we have to figure out what the other side wants and then essentially negotiate like, all right, well, I'll accept this as long as you'll switch the time, or in other words, there's got to be some give and take. It's not just like it's either my way or else I'm going to vote no. If we do that, that's fine. We're just not going to end up getting anything done, and eventually we'll get to the position where we do have to compromise. So I think that that's probably the point I would like to keep hammering and hammering on people is, let's compromise. I'm not saying let's give up on our principles. Let's do things we just can't stand or we think is horrible. But I mean, when it comes down to like whether it should be 2x or 3x or 4x, and whether it should be, unlimited time or 2 months in time or 2 weeks in time, I mean, things like that, I think we should be a little more flexible if we want to see things done. And I think most people here, no matter what side of any contentious issue you're on, are only fighting for it because that's what you believe in. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a big takeaway here too, right? It's like whenever we stop talking and whenever we stop communicating, I think that's where our biggest problems come from. I don't think we should be afraid to have any discussion, right? Like, like I know the LP proposal thing is going to be contentious, but again, like I don't think we need to be afraid to have the discussion. And you know what? Like a lot of like my own personal views have changed over the last, like I've been working on that, like and trying to get a draft for that for about the last week. And yeah, like I mean, like I've had like some of my own perspectives change. I still think we can do better than what we're doing. But that said, maybe some of the like I fully accept I have some pretty extreme ideas when it comes to deck. Like I think the DAO should burn deck. I don't think the DAO should ever hold deck for one. But it is what it is. Like I'm one person, and I think that's the important thing is just we keep communicating and we make sure that like even on issues like right now, like one of the most contentious issues that we've had since this whole process started is the one about whether or not we want to well right now we're pretty much like I feel like we're pretty like rock solid as far as like updating the leaderboards. Like that one's fine, but the unlocking the soulbound cards is just that one what is it up to now, like 9,000, 10,000 comments probably.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And that's because everybody.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, AZ. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I mean, I just wanted to say something to Clay, right, regarding that unlocking of the soulbound card and 9,000 comments. Read those 9,000 comments. Probably 7,000 of those comments are from two individuals. So,
Yep.
discussion is good. I mean, I am all for discussion. Circular discussion is not productive. So, if out of 9,000 comments, on 7,000 comments, you are talking about the same thing between the two guys, you guys can go to a room, you guys can DM each other and figure yourself out, right? That's actually much easier. The rest of the community do not need to see that. Like once you get into circular situation, um, break out of it. That's the break statement in programming. I mean, I'm no programmer, but in school, I have heard that I did some basic programming that if you get into this infinite for loop, you need to write a break statement so that you get out of this for loop. So that's my point on that. Another point I'm going to make regarding the proposal thing is, and Dave made this very clear in his post recently. But not all whales vote together. I mean, we vary in our opinions significantly, and there is no cartel anywhere that we are creating a voting block and we are voting together. That is not the case. Now, there are many times a lot of us think similarly, and if we think similarly, we are going to vote similarly. So that's the fact. And then the other thing is, even if we talk among each other, which we will do, and a lot of the discussions are not going to be public for obvious reasons. And even if we talk among each other and agree on something and vote together, that is perfectly legitimate. That is not collusion. We are not doing something. At least, as far as I know, I can speak for myself. I can speak for Dave. We have never done anything that would benefit us personally. I mean, I cannot speak of everyone, but I can speak of Dave, and Dave is right here. I can speak for myself that none of us, between the two of us at least, we have never done anything that would benefit us personally. Dave, if you have anything to say on this?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's incredibly important. And I also think that, you know, a lot of people, like in AZ, you're one that they believe like has like mystical power. Like if AZ says it ain't gonna pass, it ain't gonna pass. And what I've been trying to explain to people really recently is, you know, I mean, not everybody, like, yeah, sure, AZ's got a lot of stake. Rugadus has got a lot of stake. That's good. Aggie's got a lot of stake. Yabba's got a lot of stake. But guess what? Like the German guild, for instance, those guys have a lot of stake too. And so does, the Australians, and so does the Team Possible people. And, at the end of the day, you know, like you can't be intimidated by whether somebody's got a lot of stake, because nobody has more than 2%, I'm sure, and in most cases it's 1% or less. So if we understand that we all have a voice, and the other thing that I've been explaining, which I don't think a lot of people understand, like, even if you're a small guy, even if you have like a small amount, like 1,000 SPS stake, but I know you, well, I'm going to pay attention to your vote, because if I know you, and then I care what you think, then I'm going to say, Fat Jimmy, I'll kick on him a little bit. If Fat Jimmy's for it and he doesn't have a big stake, well, if I hate everything Fat Jimmy says, then maybe I'm a little bit more negative on it. Versus if it's simply Mike, then I think she's got a good head. So I'm gonna say, well, geez, Fat Jimmy's against it and Simply Mike's for it. I'm gonna, I'm going to lean a little more for it because I trust Simply Mike better than Fat Jimmy. And again, in case Fat Jimmy's here, I'm just joking. But the point is, like, everybody's got a voice, even if your vote doesn't swing it one way or the other, because I think there's a lot of people like me that look at the votes and look at the people that are voting and, draw conclusions from that. So I think that's important to know as well. And of course, everything AZ said too about, there's no collusion, there's no room where the whales get together. It's just simply if you're involved in the process, people know, like if you had a proposal, you're going to get a hold of AZ, or you're going to get a hold of Crypto Eater, or you're going to get a hold of Matt Clark. There's just people that they know are going to have an opinion on it, and they're going to want to find out the opinion before the proposal goes live. So it's not illusion or anything wrong. It's just common sense.
I mean, not only that, like, yeah, there's that part of it, but I mean, if you're gonna put a proposal out, you want to have some kind of like gauge of where stake is sitting at on it. And again, like I think the soulbound card thing is going to be a perfect example of this, right? Like popular opinion says, put out the proposal as written, and speaking to like the bigger stakeholders, I don't, I struggle to really see it passing, but who knows? Like I could be wrong, right? So like I try to do my best to share my thoughts and opinions, but like not give them any more weight than anyone else's. But I also try to kind of take a mental tally, like a mental temp check of where I feel like most of the stake that I'm aware of is kind of like currently leaning. And yeah, I mean like I don't really necessarily think there's any like large whale conglomerate that just all communicates and votes together. In fact, like I said, I found out, this is much more political than I ever expected it to be because, yeah, like these guys don't all vote the same way. They don't all have the same, like agendas, right? Like, right now, like I feel like we're discussing like the LP issue, and of course, like there's big wells that are like liquidity providers that are going to feel some kind of way on these things. And there's other wells that are like, what, like I'm tired of paying for the LPs. So I mean, it's not like everybody is all on the same page at all times. But I guess we should probably touch on the biggest, most contentious issue that's going on right now. Well, we do have one urgent issue, and this is something that like I've been talking to Matt about personally, and it's something that I've been trying to, I guess, adequately express my concerns about to the DAO, or the people that are participating in kind of like the pre-proposal stuff right now. And like whenever we start looking at the idea of putting rebellion packs in chest right now, I think it's very very dangerous at this point because one, we still have bots farming what like 20 to 1 the reward ratio in wild, and not only that, but there are no longer the airdrop incentives that are like tying the cells to the in-game store, right? So like previously where like a new set releases, like Splinterlands has kind of had that exclusivity where like you had to buy the packs from us or else you're not going to get the airdrop. So yeah, at some point, like especially when packs get like drastically oversold or like the price is much below what the retail is in the store, like people start weighing the options like, well, if I can get 2 packs without an airdrop, I'll probably take that. And I mean, it's logical. People play different games here, but right now, with Splinterlands not having that incentive, like basically, you know, there's no reason why you would have to buy packs from them. So like my current concerns are that if we just start throwing out rebellion packs, especially at the rate we were doing with Chaos Legion, into chest like right away, we're not gonna like really allow the company time to basically build up a good enough runway. So I'm kind of like currently, my opinion is that we should probably have at least like a minimum 3 month exclusivity to where packs are not in chest right away. I've been kind of like trying to see if there's like some other like kind of compromise options we have, or actually, surprisingly, it seems like most people are generally just okay with not having packs in chests for 3 months, which kind of surprised me. But I think it may, if that could pass, I think that would be, at least like a good sign from the DAO that like we want to help and support the company. Clearly the company is giving us half the revenue from all these packs. So like in some ways, it's in the DAO's self interest too to be able to capitalize on these packs. What do you guys think?
I think that rewards and packs are a big deal, but I also think the devaluing of the packs by putting them out in mass, to people that aren't playing, that are just, you know, automatically playing via bot. You know, I think that it at least has to be balanced. So until we can figure out how to balance it, I personally would rather not see the packs, in ranked. In other words, I think the devaluation of the asset is more important than the perk of getting them to play at this point.
Yes, yes, and I agree with Dave. And I would say, since if we put, I enjoy having packs in the reward, rank reward, but that does not need to happen right away. We can consider it 8, 10 months down the line, not right now. And the reason is very simple: is that devaluating packs. So yes, Matt just wrote down there. My preference would be no patch in the loot chest. So on this, I am with Matt. Um, the only reason to have them after a very long time is if we are trying to get rid of them, which we are not. And that whole thought process devalues Matt. So I am 100% with Matt here. And
Yeah,
Dave.
and so like this is actually like there's been a couple of times that like I've had to like bring an issue that like I see with the economy to Matt, and like I'm definitely grateful that he always even if like I don't see something correctly, he's always willing to like listen. Like one of the things that I was worried about initially was seeing that we had a lot of whales that were basically just like going farm up the soulbound reward cards to use on land. Like they would be running multiple accounts, and like that was like a legitimate strategy because according to the original release, like they were going to be usable on land just like any other cards. And like my concern was obviously it's going to create a situation where people are just putting free cards on land, and that's how we ended up getting the proposal for the 2x with like half payable and vouchers that's currently passed. Like one thing that I don't like about that current situation is I feel like it's not really fair to have an unknown out there. Especially if like the goal is like you pay this amount to use them on land, but we don't have like an agreed upon like full release price. So I mean, like hypothetically, like maybe somebody could like unlock cheaper, or we could end up asking people for more money after they've already put so much towards them. That's it's one of the reasons why I'm pushing just to get us to a place where we have a resolved answer before people start using them on land.
Yeah,
So, I think, sorry, Dave, I'm just going to read Matt's comment, and if Matt wants to speak, I'll let him speak on that. Matt essentially says, "Hey, can you submit a proposal for that so we can see if the community agrees or not for sure and move forward?" So I think that would be my preference as well, and we'll just see how the vote goes. It's a simple proposal: no packs in loot chests.
Yeah, and I really do. I think it is that simple, and I think we will ultimately just be putting that to a vote. But yeah, like I said, currently, like the situation right now is I ended up paying out of pocket to create a proposal to basically allow me to like subsidize these community proposals, and it's looking like it's gonna pass. But yeah, it's like I just I'm
It'll
not a
pass.
whale.
yeah, Yaba said he would pay it. So,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but
If you want
one,
to, if
one, one, one thing that I would like to say regarding this point, like AZ and Clay and me are all on stage and we agree, right? And and Yaba agreed in the chat. But there's also a whole bunch of people in the community that may feel differently. I personally just gave my opinion, because I was asked, well, it's my opinion, just like AZ did and what Clay did. If for some reason enough people say, fill my inbox up with, oh, this is horrible, don't let that happen, here's something you've never considered, stuff like that, then I listen. So, I just want to let everybody know this isn't like just a few people like making a decision. Everybody's got a voice. It's just, we just happen to, on this particular point, all agree that, it's not the right time to put packs in the loot chest. So I just want to make that point so that everybody doesn't misconstrue that, I think we all care what the community thinks. We just have our own opinions as well.
Well, I mean, it's not only specifically that, like as a DAO, I think we have a lot more power than a lot of DAOs, honestly. I mean, the fact that, like, look, like the CEO of the company is literally here listening to us just talk about DAO issues, and like, look, like one thing I can tell you about Matt is, I think he cares more about the DAO aspect to this than probably even me, and it's I mean, think about it. Like, if you are literally the CEO of this company, like how much money you have on the line, and you're still willing to let the community vote and decide on issues, even if they go against your own, personal thoughts and opinions. Like to me, like that tells me you're here for the same fundamentals that I am, right? Like this has to be about like building something new that hasn't existed before, because it's just like to me that's what we're here for, right? And yeah, man, I think it's important to hear everybody's opinions. I think it's important to be willing to consider that small stake doesn't necessarily mean small ideas. I mean, look at the first bot ban proposal that passed. That's passed by a guy that's like whole account's worth a couple $1,000s. And that's like, I'm not saying that as like a disparaging comment. I'm saying like that, if anything, is evidence that you don't have to be a super whale to get your ideas passed. Like if you come up with a good enough idea and you can sell it, like like go to somebody like Azercon, go to somebody like Crypto Adrian and be like, look, man, I got this amazing idea. I think that this will, do so much for the community. Like maybe one of them will sponsor you or something like that, or you could at least get some votes to pass you, to pass your way. But yeah, now we're gonna have a new avenue for community proposals to come up. So there's less contention about people saying, well, I don't have the 100,000 deck, or like if I put this out there, then people are gonna flag me. Like I think that like to be willing to come up with like actual good ideas and to be willing to create meaningful change, we have to be able to separate ourselves from the issues, and we have to be able to not be like afraid to throw ideas out there, right? Like, dude, I have some dumb ideas. Trust me. Like, I've thrown out plenty of dumb ideas and had people like point out like, oh, here's how you completely miss the forest for the trees. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, I'm willing to reconsider my positions. Like even the LP thing, for example, right? Like, I spent way too much time over the last week, talking to people and like redrafting, trying to get that to somewhere, where I felt like it was pretty stable. And then, I had to point out like one of the obvious things that I was missing is having the DAO enter those deck pools is basically putting that deck back on the market. And I'm like, that's a fair concern. So maybe we shouldn't enter those deck pools. And then, I started doing the math on, like how much is this really worth at the end of the day? Because like we'd basically be cutting 4 days of ranked rewards a month, and it's like, at some point, it's like how much is the juice worth the squeeze on this one? And I think like at this point, I'm probably ready to shelf it for like the foreseeable future. Maybe we can revisit it after after we see what happens with like all the deck pools on land. But I mean, like to me, this is a prime example. Like, go out, have the conversations. Don't be afraid. Don't feel attacked because people criticize your ideas. Be willing to adapt, be willing to change, and be willing to work together and compromise for the greater good. I think that's, I really feel like that's what's going to happen with this soulbound card proposal. I feel like
Oh, I
people are going to find out real quick that popular opinion does not necessarily equal stake, and I'm doing my best to try to push to find some kind of middle ground where I think that proposal has a chance to pass. But, dude, if it just has to like fail, then it has to fail. And, like maybe that'll be the wake up call that we have to find some compromise here, or else we're just gonna, the longer we drag it out, the more potential we're gonna have people going into an unknown situation where they're paying to stake cards on land with no clear final price. And that's my biggest concern there.
Yeah,
I
so Clay, regarding the soulbound proposal, so I am going to vote no against that proposal. So I normally make my thinking visible very clearly. So that has always been my stance, and that is what I am going to do. So whether that proposal will pass or not, that is up to the vote. There would be proposals that I feel very strongly about it. When I feel very strongly about it, and I would try and discuss and gather other people's opinions who are like-minded to me, and essentially try to make that proposal pass or fail. At other times, if I don't feel very strongly about it, I wouldn't do. So in this particular case, the soulbound card proposal, I do feel very strongly about it. So I will vote no on that proposal. Dave?
yeah, I was going to say that this is one where we have to compromise. In other words, all the different moving parts. You've got the unlock rate. Whether it's 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, or 10x. That's an issue. You've got whether to keep them soulbound or not. There's a decent number of people that just want them soulbound forever. It's not a huge number, but it's probably 10%. And then on top of that, we have time to unlock. Like some people are, one way to mitigate the cost is to limit the time. So, for instance, if you make them cheap but don't make them for a long time, then then that's kind of counterbalancing itself. In other words, like let's say like everybody was like, no, they should be 2x, and Vugadis came back and said, well, if it's 2x, and I only want that for a day, and then the next day 2.1, the next day 2.2, and then the people on the other side were like, oh, that's crazy, like how could you do it in one day? So if they came back and said a week or 2 weeks or a month, maybe he would have considered it. But the answer was no, we can't limit time. We have to make it 2x. We have to unlock them. In other words, there's just too many moving parts that you're going to have to compromise. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if we want them unsoulbound, then we have to find a solution that 66% of the people agree with. And so like, and I've had other people that have said, "Oh, this is going to kill the new player experience if they're never unlockable." And then Matt Clark came up with an idea of, hey, maybe if they stay soulbound, we could, have some kind of trade in from future soulbound to let the new people get them. So there's a possibility. So again, many moving parts. The only way we're going to reach 66% on this one, I'm positive, is that we have to discuss what are the issues with all the stakeholders. And when I say all the stakeholders, I mean people that fight for certain positions, like the 2x crowd. And Yab is asking what's being proposed right now. What's being proposed is after at land they're 2x, half deck and half in vouchers. There's Clay put up a proposal which would unlock them for nothing extra. In other words, keep it that way. And that's like there's a vocal group that want to keep it that way. And then Ugadis, on the other hand, wanted 10x, and because he felt it would be too many cards, were produced, and it will destroy the value. So he stated that, and everybody went bonkers. So he actually came up with what I thought was a reasonable solution, which was, okay, we'll let you have 2x, but you got to move fast. Even though if it's 6 months from now and and you can plan, you're still going to have to move fast. And what he's trying to do is keep the bot farms from just flipping them and just bringing them into existence for no, 'cause not because they want them, but because they can flip them. And if there's not a limit of time for them to do that, then you're just perpetually going to have more and more and more keep hitting the market as they churn through, the market. So, make a long story short, and then you get guys like Matt Clark that says, hey, these shouldn't even be, these rewards should be that you get them for your account. They should remain soul bound forever. So my point is, like I actually, the only thing I care about on this is that we have a something that Azircon can agree with, and Vugadis can agree with, and Clay and Yaba and Matt Clark, and all of these people. To me, those are the people. Marshall, Bronco, and Ghostly, and all the different people that are passionate about it. You got to get in a room and you got to say, all right, well, okay, I see why you want that. What if we do it this way? And then the other side's got to say that if we take it and we say, nope, it's got to be my way, or else, well, the or else is they just stay soul bound forever, or until we can reach an agreement, which may be 2 or 3 years. So I just want to make that point to everybody, because like you can say I'm not budging. Well, okay, and then make sure you can live with them being soul bound forever. Because if you don't budge, that's the default position. So,
Yeah. So just to be clear, like my biggest concern here, I'm fairly neutral on what I don't think we should be trying to control the prices of DAO. I think that's a failed, like that's a fallacy. Like I don't think we have that power. Do we have the ability to manipulate it to some extent? I think so, but I don't think that's really what we should be doing here. My thing is we need to figure out, basically an option for like what is the acceptable way to release these things, because currently all we know is that there's some price for you to be able to use these on land, and that if they become unlockable in the future, that price will count towards whatever that price is. So if the price is cheaper, then you paid extra to get to use them on land. If the price is more expensive, this is where I personally like run into like a moral like dilemma on this. Is like I feel like if we take people's money and then later tell them, okay, well, maybe the price is 5x more, you know, is that fair? And I don't think it is. Like that's the main reason why I think that this needs to be resolved before they're ever usable on land. And that's one of the reasons why I was pushing this issue so hard. Um, you know, I, I don't think there's an easy answer here. I think at some point we have to, figure out a solution to actually address the issues. And like you guys may not necessarily see everything that I have going on right now, but like one of them I can tell you, and I know he's probably been talking to a lot of the whales too. Bronco actually has been. Actually, I think he did share the draft earlier. He was putting together this idea of how to basically take on bot farms without actually taking on bots. And it's interesting because it's a different way to look at this problem than I had been looking at it. But yeah, like clearly, the biggest problems we have with bots are just at scale. The farms are like completely ridiculous. You can. It's such a min-max game at this point. It's how can I rent the cheapest amount of cards, the cheapest amount of SPS, and make it profitable. And at scale, like all that is just like how can I get out more than I'm putting in at scale. And then you end up with something like 50,000 bot accounts farming level 1 guild brawls for who knows how long, until we deal with it. And this is just what I'm saying. Like at some point, we have to deal with the bot issue. Now, whether the bot issue is like people with like legitimate accounts just not wanting to play and putting their accounts on autopilot, or if the bot issue is actually bot farms that are just not owning anything and just extracting. Like if that's the problem, then we need to deal with the problem. And I think it's interesting getting to see Bronco's perspective on this, and it's also interesting. Like, look, like I think Bronco can be a bit abrasive. I think like some of that's probably a language barrier, but I do think the guy's smart, and I think he comes up with some really good ideas. And he's made me rethink things in the past. So I try to. This to me, like this is a prime example of what I'm saying. Like we have to be willing to hear what people have to say, even if we can't like let our own personal bias dictate how we're going to hear what other people have to say. like Azergon, like prime example. As Azergon, you may not know this, but you're a pretty abrasive person, and a lot of people don't necessarily like how you talk to them. But that said, I think it's fair to say you have some good ideas and you have a lot of stake. So it would be very ignorant to just ignore, anything you have to say on the issue. Like that's my personal opinion. But this is a prime example. I feel like people get so polarized on the individual that they stop listening to the actual topic or what they had to say, and it just becomes well, if this person likes it, then clearly it's bad, and I don't want anything to do with it. And it's like that to me. That's a very limited way to go about life. Just because I don't like somebody doesn't mean they can't have a good idea.
And by the way, Bronco has been abrasive at times. I agree, he is smart. And I got to tell you, I'm impressed with that proposal. In other words, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is contacting people, asking people's opinions, seeing if they want to make changes. In other words, he sees a problem. He's super anti-bot, but he realizes that that's going to be a very contentious issue. So he came at it a different way. Like, all right, well, maybe we can't ban bots, completely out of wild. What if we just ban, the massive bots with no investment? And to me, I'm proud of him because he basically is trying to solve the problem. In other words, as opposed to sticking to his guns and saying no bots, at least he's trying to like say, well, I guess I understand some people have a problem with no bots anywhere, and he came up with what I thought was a thoughtful solution. So, hope I hope he succeeds not necessarily in the proposal the way it's written this second, but in the process. And I hope that other people follow that, which is if you want something done, talk to people, try to find out what they think. And everybody's going to talk to you if you approach them and say, "What do you think?" Or most will. So anyway,
Well,
yeah. But by the way, to answer one of your questions, uh, um, they you mentioned something about a new resource. So I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah,
you may
see,
want to.
this is what I mean, right? Like, if you don't have these conversations, if you don't have these discussions, like, you don't come up with new ideas. You don't find new ways to approach the problem, right? Like, if all we see is a nail, and we've got, two different people with different kinds of hammers trying to hit it at the same time, and somebody else walks up and they're like, hey, like, let's just approach this problem from a completely different, like prime example. It's just like, if you don't have these conversations, if you don't get these ideas out in the open, you don't address the issues. We don't find solutions. And yeah, I've got this meme that like whenever people completely refuse to compromise on anything, that like I'll share it with you. This is what it always makes me think of. But yeah, like man, I think whenever we get so caught up in the idea that we have to be right and like our idea has to win, we stop looking for any like viable way forward, and it's just like at that point it's just like it becomes like a mudslinging contest. It's like you gotta tear down the people because you can't accept their ideas, or you gotta just like die on this hill. And it's like at some point it's like, would you rather work together and compromise to try to find a solution, or just vilify people that think differently than you? And I don't think we get anywhere doing that.
Agree. Do you want to? Are you going to go over any particular like like anything you want us to focus on today?
Yeah, let's see. I guess we're already getting close to an hour, but like let's look at what the ongoing issues are. So we've kind of like touched on the Soulbound rewards. I feel like the leaderboard prizes are actually at a relatively good place. Just to kind of like give you guys that aren't in the trenches in these threads all the time. Um, the deal with reworking leaderboards is we've been like trying to find a way to get rid of that last source of just like outright deck inflation where we're just printing deck. And yeah, so what we're thinking right now is basically swapping the leaderboard prizes for packs with the same deck value. So basically, I think we'd be cutting something like a tiny amount of deck just because the way you can't have a pack equal exactly what was there before. But uh, basically, it's about 1 to 1. 5,000 deck for a pack. We'll just be giving out packs instead of deck, and that way we finally get rid of the deck printing. So then the only way to get deck into the ecosystem is going to be by burning SPS, and that's what we want. So I think that one's going pretty well. I don't think it's very contested. Unlocking soulbound cards, we've been through that already. A rental reset. So this is something that was actually suggested by Nerd Cthulhu. And basically, there's still cards that apparently never got reset to the new minimum of point 0.1 deck. So it looks like a pretty like non-contested proposal here, just to reset those cards to be at the minimum that all new cards have to enter the market on. Tournament rewards. So guys, I'm just gonna tell you, like, this one I think is gonna be it's gonna take a while. Like, I think it's gonna require us gathering a lot of feedback. I think it's going to require us having a lot of hard conversations, and I'm actually still waiting to try to get some information. Like, I don't know if there's a spreadsheet with what we were doing previously. I've reached out to some people to try to get more information there. Otherwise, I will continue to, I guess, just try to like make the proposals. I mean, make the tournaments like we have been until we can get further in this discussion. But yeah, like, guys, if this is something you're passionate about, if you play a lot of tournaments, please get involved in that conversation. I'm going to be honest with you. Whenever I started working for the company, I stopped playing in tournaments because I felt like there was a conflict of interest. I felt like it was a bad optics thing. Nobody asked me to. I just personally decided I wasn't going to play in tournaments. So I'm very familiar with tournaments. I used to play in them a lot, but I do think that there's probably people that are more up to speed on the current situation, and I would love to get their insight. Let's see. Yeah, another not very contested one: the DAO delegating 100 SPS to new accounts for a month. So there's some discussion about top tier phrase, like basically removing the reward restrictions from the top tier phrase, so that people would be more incentivized to move up into tier 5 instead of just hanging out in the lower tiers. If you guys are passionate about brawls and getting them to function a little bit better, join that conversation. So there's a couple of things that are like, so I haven't really pushed this one public, but we're kind of like in the early stages of talking about trying to get an SPS DAO website together, and I'm personally kind of hoping maybe we can work with Peak Monsters, because they're gonna have some tools for polling and things that I think would be very beneficial. I will let you guys know when I get more info on that. Um, yeah, like I said, we touched on the reworking the DAO LPs. I think that one might just get shelved for now, but I'm going to see how it goes. Rebellion packs and chest, like Matt said, he'll send me the deck, so we'll get a proposal out for that. The nifty deck thing, we touched on that. That is also an ongoing discussion. We can get a proposal out to burn those or whatever we want to do with them. And the last one, Investigator made some suggestions of how to basically improve the new player experience by allowing them to either basically reroute all of their SPS rewards straight to the DAO, and then the DAO would pay them out in deck, or to have them basically do the same thing to the company, and the company give them credits for like 10% less of the deck value or whatever. But yeah, like, so there's a lot of ongoing topics that we need to discuss, and I think we got a few more minutes here. Maybe we'll wrap it up around an hour. But you got any of those like jump out at you as like pressing issues, Dave?
I mean, they're all pretty good in terms of getting the issues on the table. I think that a few of them are more like be heard, as opposed to really that we need to make a change. It's just the nifty decks. Like, I don't really think it's probably not even worth 100,000 deck that we would spend to make a proposal. I do think it's important we discuss it and take a are you for it or against it thing. and then if it's 66% fine, we can do a proposal to stop it. So the point is, I think that's more important, just for people to weigh in, as opposed to something like Matt was talking about, like rebellion packs and ranked. I mean, that's a critical issue that we need to vote on, or soulbound cards we need to have a vote on. But do we have to vote on the nifty? Not necessarily. I think that it is important that everybody gets a chance to weigh in, especially on a stake weighted thing, as opposed to like a Discord check mark. So I'm looking forward to if you can get that done myself, because I think we'll be able to take a lot of polls in that, and that will tone everybody down a lot as they start to see how the votes go. Like right now, they picture the whales as all one big group, all voting together if something doesn't pass. I think if we had that polling process, then I think it would be just like an in-game vote, like we would see. Oh, all right, well, these, Aziracon's voting this way, and Vugadis is voting the other way, and and you can see that the whales aren't one big block. It's a bunch of individuals all tallied up to one thing. So, from a process standpoint, I hope to see that. But I'm super. Other than having a hard time keeping up with it, all of them, because it's like boom. Clay, you showed up and threw a lot of things at us. But every single one of them are stuff that we need to be dealing with, and I think that as we get them off our plate, we're going to find it's a good thing. It's a good process that we talk about it and we move on.
Yeah, I
That would
definitely,
be
I definitely think some things have more urgency than others. So yeah, like I'm not like pushing for things that I think can wait. Like I think like the main thing, like Matt was saying, like we need to figure out the rebellion and chess thing ASAP, because we've got just over 2 weeks, and we need 2 weeks for the vote. So like this is pretty much down to the wire. That said, I personally, I strongly feel we need a resolution on the soulbound thing before we start letting people pay to use them on land. But I didn't want to cut you off there. Did you have something to add, Azarkan?
well, one thing I want to say on that, I don't think we have to have a resolution, but I do think we have to have the vote. Meaning, if the vote doesn't pass, that's a resolution in and of itself.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, fair enough. I just like I think it's the same thing with like the market maker proposal, right? Like to me, the market maker proposal, like I wasn't whether or not I thought we should get a market maker. It never was about that. It to me, the important thing is like it's to me it's like imperative that the DAO has a say, because like essentially if I didn't push that proposal, like uh, oh man, there's so much crap that like I just don't even know like what I can and can't say, but like I can tell you guys this. Like one of the things that I was concerned about happening, if I did not push that proposal, I literally got the notification today. So I don't know what else I'm allowed to say beyond that, but like you can expect a big delisting. And like that's I'm not super concerned. Like I'm not like worried about this, but like the whole thing is if we did not push that proposal out, the community wouldn't have had a say. So now, like if this happens, like how I think it's about to happen, basically I can point to say like, look, we took the vote, we decided we weren't going to do this, so like these are the consequences, and I like to me like that's why I was so adamant that we have to have a vote, because I don't want to be the guy deciding the outcome on like these major things, right? Like you don't want one person telling you you can or can't have centralized exchanges. You don't want one person telling you, making these like big critical decisions. It has to come from all of us, and that's something that I feel very adamant about.
So, Clay, one thing I think you need to think about it pretty quickly, and Matt also mentioned it earlier, that there is a process for emergency votes that does not have to wait like the full 7 weeks. We have done this once in the past, and for critical elements, you need to consider doing it that. So, if you feel something that is very critical and it cannot wait 7 days, uh, got to put the emergency proposal out, and have it voted. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually something that's like on. Maybe it shouldn't be a back burner issue, but it's something that's definitely in my mind. It's just not the highest priority. I do want to come up with some kind of contingency plan for an emergency situation. Whether that is just us making a proposal that says something like, if an LP is under attack, or if there's like an attack on our chain or something, that we give Matt the authority to, respond, right? Like I think that needs to be out there. It needs to be public, and we need to basically agree. And look, like, maybe people want to agree, but like, I can tell you, like, I can personally imagine a lot of situations where 2 weeks to respond would literally kill this project. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, and I like to have Matt the veto power for situations like this. I trust Matt, and I think most of the community does as well. And essentially, Matt trusts us back, right? Essentially, the way this rebellion pact, 50-50 profit goes to the DAO is like a cornerstone of how decentralized governance and profit sharing should work. So, and Matt proposed that without us telling him that. So we appreciate that, and I think for emergency situation like this, we need to have Matt should have veto power on that, so that any kind of threat can be thwarted without going through with community discussion.
You
yeah,
could even do a proposal we vote on as a DAO. Like here, under these conditions, Matt has the authority, and make it as simple as that. In other words, you could expedite or overrule under these particular conditions. And it'd
yeah,
take a little bit of work on your part, Clay, to write the
yeah,
proper.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it's more just like I'm trying to define, to you don't want to like leave it too open to interpretation, and you don't want to like leave it too like loosey goosey here, because I mean, look, like, I think we all trust Matt here, but like, it's blockchain, right? Like, just like, you don't want to write a blank check. You want to understand what you're giving someone the authority to, and you want it to be clearly outlined. And that's the thing, like, right, like, we have to define, like, it's hard to think of like encompassing emergency situations, right? Like, at what point does this like supreme power come into play? And yeah, I think like it would obviously have to come from the community, but like, how do we define this in a way that's not just problem reaction solution, right? Because I think that would be one of the biggest points of contention, is like, well, if you have the power, then you'll create the problem to use the power. And I mean, like, to be fair, this is like literally how governments operate. So why would you think us humans are any less fallible than the other ones that have done this time and time again? But yeah, like, it's definitely something on my mind. I think it's something that we'll discuss more, in the coming weeks and months. But I just want to say I appreciate all you guys coming out. We've kind of just trying this out for the day, but hopefully this format sticks. Maybe we can define it. Maybe I'll get a rotating like little cast of guests or something that will come and go, throughout the different weeks. And like, maybe that'll be how we do this. Like I said, part of, just like this job, part of it is defining what we want to do. And even with these down halls, like, I think it's great to get everybody here, get everybody excited and involved in community governance. And hopefully, over time, like, maybe this will become a little bit more structured. Maybe we'll have somebody taking the minutes. But I guess we'll have to see. You guys give me some feedback. Tell me how you think this went, and if you want more, if you want longer. Do you want different guests each week? Just give me some
Yes,
feedback and tell me what you want, and we'll make it happen. I'm here to work for you guys.
I would highly suggest you rotate the guest because, in my opinion, that's going to help everybody get more comfortable with community as a whole. Like, NAZ got a chance to be there today, but next week let's have two more different people. And
Yes,
that will be a
agreed.
plus as well.
Agree 100%. We make that happen, please.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Thanks everybody for coming out, and
Hard point before you wrap it up. Hard point wanted to know where the watch party's going to be for the pre-sale. Do you
uh,
know?
yeah. I mean, I guess everybody's welcome to just hop into general, or dude, we've been doing that some nights. Like, dude, guys, just hop into general chat and start talking to each other. Maybe you'll make some new friends, or some new frenemies or something. But I think that just communicating with each other, and realizing that on some level we all want the same thing, even if we don't necessarily agree how to get there. But like dehumanizing each other and arguing with each other endlessly, just at some point, it's like just yelling at a brick wall. Like, you have to be able to see each other as human beings and interact in a respectful manner to be able to find compromises and progress. And I think ultimately that's what this is going to be a lot of. It's going to be a lot of figuring out how to work together, grow together, and compromise to accomplish bigger things than just our own limited ideas. But yeah, so who knows? Maybe Hardpoint will jump into the general chat. I'll try to stop in for a little bit too. But yeah, so I will see you guys again in I think it's 2 weeks for the first Friday of December, and you know, hopefully we'll have a smoother down haul the next time.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Clay.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.